Welcome to Questions in Actor Laurent Pitre. I'm your host, Laurent Pitre, and here today I am here with the amazing, the magnificent, the fantastic, the Scottish. I'm so sorry I had to do it, but who are you again?
Yes, I am Broghanne Jessamine. My name is pronounced like broken, but with a G instead of a K. Um, or all the
Yes.
varieties of other ways that people attempt to say it. Um, I am
Yeah.
originally from Scotland. I live in New York now. And yes, I'm an actor, as the title kind of ensues.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, the title of this episode will probably allude to the fact that you are an actor. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is the second time we're doing this conversation. We had a little bit of a sound issue the first time, but Brogan was one of my first guests to jump into the experiment. She was so kind and patient with me. And it was a great interview. So just imagine the best interview possible. It's gone. It's because of the sound. There was like a sound issue. Apparently, there was like either interference of aliens or Brogan has a theory that perhaps the steam in her apartment,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so New York, if you don't know, a lot of New York City apartments run on steam heat, which literally means there's steam that goes through all the pipes. And it means that your radiators will hiss at you, or they sound like little gnomes like banging on the pipes. So that is often a sound interference in the winter times.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it's a hard life, but
That
I
must
don't
be
have to pay
hard
for it,
also
so.
to yeah, but that must be also hard. I mean, we'll get into like the actual interview soon, but I want to know more about this pipe thing. Um That must be hard to do when you have like self tapes during the winter or like any kind of Zoom audition. Is there a way of controlling that, or it's a mixture of control and letting go and seeing what happens?
I mean, I think anyone who's a New York casting director knows that steam heat exists. Like, I've been in casting
Mm,
offices during auditions and the steam heat has been on. And so you just kind of accept it as a way of
wow,
life. Because you can't
wow,
stop it. Like, you can't turn it off. Like, I mean, I guess in theory
wow.
you can, but you'd have to turn off the heat in your
Hmm.
entire apartment. So,
That's not something you want to do in
right.
winter. Not at all.
Right,
No,
right. And I
no,
mean, you can, like,
no.
mitigate it by, like, covering it with a towel or, like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess, like, with, like, all the fuzzy mics that attach on to things, but,
Uh
you're
huh.
still gonna get steam heat. It exists. It just needs to be the
Yeah.
main character every once in a while.
I love that. Well, speaking of the main character of this episode, you're the main character. Let's go to the origin of the main character, right? Bring us
Yeah.
back to Scotland, where you're born and raised. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm doing anything close to a Scottish accent,
I
but
mean,
I thought I'd give it a kick.
it is an
It's bad.
attempt. I will give you that.
It's an attempt.
Um,
Thank you.
you yeah, yeah, it's not the worst I've heard. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay, good, nice. That's a compliment in my books.
No, yeah, I was born and raised in the northeast of Scotland. How I describe it,
Mm,
it's the second jaggedy bit on the map. That's where I was.
mm,
So yeah, I grew up there. Um, I moved to New York in 2012, so it's been a wee while now. But yeah, I grew up
mm-hmm.
there. I have three sisters, so I'm the second oldest of four, which is a wonderful world in chaos. But yes, so we have all of that. And then my mom and dad, live life. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, I moved here in 2012 to come to acting school. Did that, graduated, first work visa, second. Then I did, then I was lucky enough to have a wonderful partner who I love dearly, and we ended up getting married. So then I got my green card, and then I got my citizenship, which made life so much easier.
Yes.
So now I'm a dual
Yes,
citizen, which is
indeed.
really nice. But I do acting, so I do
Yes.
film and TV, and then I do voiceover a lot. I grew up doing theater because I think almost everyone in the UK kind of grew up doing theater if you were in drama
Hmm.
in any capacity. So I did that, and then very quickly at age 14 discovered I was really not doing musical theater, and so just did
Mm.
straight plays from there. And yeah, now I do all of my things and work, and yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, well, let's dive a little deeper into those like initial chapters of the story of Brogan.
Yeah.
I'm so curious, like, what was like that first sort of acting bites of the bug, you know, like the bug that kind of gives you this like purpose or this like calling that a lot of actors talk about. What was that moment or series of moments in your like childhood back in Scotland?
Yeah, I used to do like a Saturday class for performance, which my mom doesn't agree with this joke, but that she needed a way to get me out of the house. And so, because there's so many of us, and so you got to give them activities. And so I did that. So I did every Saturday, I would do singing, dancing, and a drama class. And I did that for years. And I think that that really like was a thing. I like really enjoyed it and I loved it. And then I don't think I
Wow.
started like actually taking it seriously until I was about 12, probably, when I like fully was
Okay.
like, this is it. This is what I'm doing from now on. Um, and my mum talks about how she knew I was going to do it seriously when we were doing like a showcase and I sung Another Suitcase in Another Hall from Evita. And she was like, apparently, I don't like, I remember doing this showcase, but my mom describes it much better than I do. In her, like,
Oh.
I was like unpacking a suitcase or something on stage while singing this like really sad song. And she was like, oh no,
Oh.
this is gonna keep happening. So that was when I started like actually taking it seriously. And then I like tried to convince them to let me go to like drama school for years. And then yeah, I got like I did an audition to come to New York because someone I knew was already here. And then I got a really good scholarship, and then it was like,
Ah.
let's go. So yeah.
Wow, so cool. So, like, you had your mother's support kind of
Yeah.
thing, mostly because she just wanted you to be busy and have less, you know, just a little bit of time off on Saturday, which is totally
Yeah.
normal. Props to
To be
mom.
fair, there were still
So I'm
three more of
curious
us.
though. Yeah, that's it. There's so many. It's like I get it. I grew up with three sisters as well, so I understand. I was in a ton of
Yeah.
extracurriculars, and that's not a knock at all on moms. That's like a great idea to
Yeah.
do.
Perfect.
And you know is a big reason why the both of us are actors is because of those extracurricular types of classes. So I'm just curious, like, how did you always have a sense or like I guess when you're starting to realize that acting was going to be the thing for you, um did you always know which school you wanted to do, and if so, when you did that audition process? Okay, no, not at all. So when you did that audition process for that particular theater school,
Yeah.
would you kind of walk us through like the preparation and what that moment was when you actually did the audition, because I'm sure a lot of emerging actors would love to know that kind of thing.
Yeah. I had, okay. So when I was choosing what I was going to do after high school, I had kind of like three options. So, I had already been working with different like theater companies that were like more predominantly for like youth theater, and one of those
Mm.
companies had basically offered like a verbal offer of me doing a touring production with them after I finished high school. So I had that option. I had a place at university in Scotland to do theater there. And then I auditioned and been offered a place to come to New York to come to acting school. So those are my
Whoa.
three options. prior to this, rewinding, I did not want to go to university, just as a thing. I only wanted to do, I was like acting school or nothing. And there was an acting school I really, really, really wanted to go to, which was the National Conservatoire of Scotland. Um,
Whoa.
it's in Glasgow. It was like one of the cities I'd already worked in and like had done projects in. I loved the city and I really, really, really wanted to go there. And I'd auditioned to go there, but they were notorious for not letting people in the first year you audition. Because
Mm,
their thought process was you're not really a whole human yet. And so,
mm-hmm,
especially when you're coming right from high school or secondary school is what we
mm-hmm,
call it, into an acting school, they were kind of like, give it a year, and audition
mm-hmm.
again and see what happens. So I hadn't got in there. I was devastated, fully devastated. I was like, that's it. No one likes me. I'll never make anything on my, the spiral,
Mm-hmm.
especially at 17. Um, and so I
Mm-hmm.
also had a place at university, which my mum really wanted me to do, which, I mean, all power to her as a parent. She was like, a university degree will help you in life. Um, and so I had a place at university, and then I'd worked this project like the summer between my fifth and sixth years, so like junior and senior year. And one of the assistant directors for that project had gone to the acting school that I then ended up going to. And he'd recommended me
Mm,
and all of this. And so I submitted an audition. Then I had to fly down to London to audition, and my mum came with me, and it was great. And yeah, and just kind of like snowballed from there. And then we end up in this 3 option scenario where I think I say now, had I actually thought it through, I probably would not have made the decision to come to New York. Because, like, I realistically was just like, well, I'm going to regret not going. So I'll just go to New York. It had a great scholarship.
mm,
I like, with the exchange rate at the time I came over, it was a really good exchange rate. I was like, I can defer my place at university for a year.
mm-hmm.
And then the company that I'd worked with or was like potentially going to be, I was like, worst comes to worst and I hate it and I come back in a year, I can work with them then. That opportunity isn't going away.
Mm-hmm.
At least not in a year. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I was like really at 17 was just like, well, I'd regret not going, so I guess I'm going to New York. And
Mm-hmm.
had to jump through all the hoops that happen in doing that, right? Like there's immigration, there's the like money, there's the all the medical checks and inoculations you have to get to come over. And so there was all these things and I like had never been to America before. Like fully came here with no concept of what New York was, never visited the school, just was going off of my friends like recommendation
Wow.
and the person I'd spoken to at the audition. It was I knew it was a real school. That part I did know. But like as far as anything to do with that, I didn't know. And
Yeah.
so I did really just get on a plane and come here
Wow.
and not really know anyone. But
Wow.
yeah, yeah, like and that's why I say had I really thought about it and not been 17 or 18 when I did eventually come, because it was right after my 18th birthday, that
Mm,
I probably wouldn't have. You know what I mean?
wow.
But at
Yeah,
17 or
absolutely.
18, you're like, I can take on the world. So, uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you had that level of confidence, and I think there's something that's really beautiful in you reflecting on those three things, because not one of them is the right choice, but there's a lesson in taking a bigger swing, right? In stepping the furthest outside your comfort zone. And I think as a younger emerging artist, if I could go back and tell myself to do like things like that, I would. I would have taken bigger swings. You know, when you're young, you have that level of innocence and naivete that actually is really
Yeah.
useful, right? And so, like you said, like if you had taken the university degree or you'd taken, you know, that tour, I'm sure you'd still be a working actor with a strong, you know, resume and everything, but potentially you may not have crossed the pond
Right.
as easier, or, you know, you wouldn't have met your husband,
Right.
all these kinds of things, right? You
Right.
don't know. You just don't know.
Well, and I mean, my plan, like I had this vague plan beforehand that what I was going to do was move to Glasgow, go to this acting school in Glasgow, do that for a few years, move down to London, do the London
Mm,
scene, and then eventually come to New York. I just
yes.
skipped
Yeah.
the first dozen or so steps to get over here. But
Yeah. Yeah.
to be honest, like coming here on a student visa was a lot easier than trying to come here on an artist visa. And like, you
Yes.
know that. So like,
Oh, yes.
in a way, like it was an easier choice that way. Uh,
Yes.
but yeah. And I mean, I still think about the fact that I was like, wow. Like people when I first came here were like, wow, you're really brave for doing that.
Hmm.
And I remember being like, no, I'm not. And like
Yeah.
thinking back, I'm like, no, that is what that is. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's yeah, it was a great time. It was the best choice. I still would make the choice. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is odd to think about.
Yeah, but it's cool that you took that choice, you know, because again, it took you the furthest out of your
Mhm.
comfort zone, and like you said, you skipped 12 steps, and it's so true, you know. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because you went through the student visa route, which we'll get into in a bit probably, because I'm sure other people would love to know what the details are, other than like, you know, like you said, like the inoculations, the like
Yeah,
paperwork, the money that you need to still
yeah,
put forward. But I did the O1 path, like you said. You know, I studied where I was born. You know, I stayed in Montreal for quite some time. You know, building my career there, and I realized, oh my gosh, I gotta get out. Like the ceiling is there, and
yeah,
then, you know, if you don't move to at least Toronto, then you're not even building a big enough career to maybe go down south to the States, right? So I had to go to Toronto and then prove myself there to then build enough momentum to then go down to New York. But and to get the O1 visa, but the O1 visa, like you said, is a lot harder to put forward and to get,
yeah,
and it's a major chunk of change, and you don't have the necessary, you don't have as much of the support of, say, like a university or an acting school that helps you with the sponsorship and things like that, that, you know, overall it's like a softer type of landing. Because even also, that's the landing portion also is interesting, because in my first year of the O1 visa, I learned it's a lot like your first year before even theater school. Like there's no support. You don't have no contact, no agent. You got to learn the new union because you're in the SAG like
yeah,
jurisdiction now. All those things. So you're building your community again a little bit, and you're starting from, you know, the ground floor. So at least, you know, when you're starting at school, it's almost like you're on the second floor
yeah,
to a certain degree. You might go back to ground floor once you graduate, which is a very real thing to talk about.
yeah.
But I'm so curious about your experience at, and please shout out your school name so that people know which one you went to, and tell us about the school experience, and then like that, like post grad life.
Yeah, so I went to the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts, which was shut down in 2025
Sadly.
because they lost funding.
Yes.
So no longer exists. But that's where I went. It was a 2-year conservatory program, so I got an associate's degree. I was the first year that
Hmm.
we all got associate's degrees.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
which I went in and we didn't know we were getting an associate's degree, and then they were like, "Oh, you get an associate's," and we were like, "Fantastic!" Right.
I did university, mother.
I was like, we had our one film history, like required, like
Yeah.
theory class.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so weird. And like, obviously, I was going in with what I considered a weak Scottish accent, but everyone in America considered a very strong Scottish accent. And so we had a bunch of different classes. I think there's a lot of things I learned at school. Like, I learned a lot about boundaries and things that I wanted to do and characters I liked and plays and things like that. But a lot of stuff that I learned at school, I don't do anymore. And I, in fact, do the opposite. And
Yeah.
and I think it's so,
Yeah.
but I learned what techniques work for me more. The school was both Meisner focused and Uta Hagen focused. And what I learned is Uta Hagen and I are not friends.
No.
We are not. She is not my technique. I appreciate the work that Uta Hagen brings to the world and all of the technique that comes in that. I was much more better at Meisner, which was great because it was very much like learn your lines, know them so inside out that you could do them in whatever way, learn your like emotional need, and then walk into the scene and respond to your partner. Which was much more me than looking down every single objective and researching everything and endowing every single object in that space to various things. But I have friends who are so like hated Meisner, thought it was the worst thing in the world, and loved Uta Hagen. Which, you know, that's how the world works. But a lot of those things, like a lot of Meisner, I still use, even though I've been out of school for a long time. But yeah, so we did a lot of that, and like we had weird rolling on the floor voice lessons, you know, the classic stereotype of an acting school. Yeah, we post-grad, we didn't really get a lot of support. It was still a smaller school, and it was so focused on actors that I think, like, my second year, like our final year, was the first semester that they'd done kind of like a web series class where it was teaching us how to produce our own web series. And it was like an 8-week course. It wasn't even the full semester.
Okay.
And so we all kind of had to do that, which was great. But they still, like, the school was kind of still of the mind of you need to be an actor and that's your job and that's what you're showing up to do. And like in the years since that, the industry has changed. And it changed in their education as well, where they were like, actually, like, you need to also be doing a podcast or also be producing your own work or your friend's work, or like also be a director and a writer and everything. So I loved school for a lot of reasons. And also, like, they did fully tell me I was going to fail if I kept my Scottish accent, which I understand that I'm doing like a weird American Scottish accent right now, but a lot of
But that's you now, right?
Yeah.
You are a dual citizen. That's your voice. But like if you go on camera, you're like full American or full Scottish, full whatever it needs to be, right?
Well, and that's the thing. At this point, it's so funny because they told me I was going to fail because of this thing. When on film and TV, I'm almost exclusively American. And then when I do voiceover, I'm like almost exclusively Scottish. Like,
wow.
Like there is very little overlap. Every once in a while I get to do the other accents, but I'm like, I love an accent and I learned a lot of them. But yeah, they did not provide me with an accent class. So everything I've learned from accents has been by my own ear and bullying my friends to repeat how to say words so I know how to say them.
Wow.
It's not really bullying. They were really helpful about it. They actually really enjoyed it.
Yes.
But I shouldn't say that.
Yes.
But
no, yeah. To be clear, you definitely are not a bully in any way, shape, or form. So we knew
but
that
I
was
did.
a joke.
There were times where I'd be like, "No, I need you to tell me how to say this word so many ways so that I actually figure out how to say it." And even now, I
Mm-hmm.
still can't say certain words. There's just certain words that don't work.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's interesting that you did it all by ear
Yeah.
too, and because there's the IPA, like the International Phonetic Alphabet, that's been helpful for me with like looking at accents off the top. But that, like you said, I think practice
Yeah.
and your ear can be very, very much sufficient. But it just requires like a bit of discipline, right? And sometimes, like you said, a bit of a big motivation, right? Like you are going to be kicked out of the school. You got to,
Oh, they weren't gonna kick
work
me
on
out
the
of
accent and
school. They thought I'd fail at my
oh.
career. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not necessarily, it's a negative way to put it, but in a sense they aren't wrong in a total way
Yeah.
because like it does help to be able to turn on and off those accents. But like have discovered with your career, there's nothing wrong with your accents. In fact, it's your bread and butter when it
Yeah.
comes to voice, and turning on the American now helps you with film and
Yeah.
television, especially in New York City, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not always going to be casting Scottish characters
No.
in New York City kind of production. So
Yeah.
that's cool that you were able to work on that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, yeah, you so when you have a student visa and you graduate, what happens at that point? You get this 1 year type
Yes.
visa, right? Called the F1 visa or something like
No.
that?
So your student
No,
visa
something different.
is your F1 visa,
Ah, okay.
which basically means that you're in school, you're not allowed to work. Or I think you're not allowed
Hmm.
to work, or like you can get a work study, but there's like a certain number of hours and you can't be paid more than a certain amount, which really
Okay.
fundamentally means you basically are not allowed to work. Um,
Yes.
and so you have your F1 visa, and then it it could have changed because again, we're
Yes,
going
it could have
back
changed.
a
Yeah.
decade.
We're not lawyers.
No,
This is not legal
none of
advice.
this is
Just
legal
this
advice.
is your story.
Um,
Yes.
you get your OPT, which is your Occupational Practical Training visa, and that's
Hmm.
1 year after you graduate. It's
Okay.
basically, and it's only within your field of study.
Yes.
So I got it for acting, but you can get it if you're a directing major. You can only work in directing, or you can only work in marketing or whatever.
Right.
If you've had a bachelor's degree, you can get an H-1B visa, which is a
Mm.
different visa. Um,
Mm.
but everyone gets an OPT. I'm pretty sure you can apply for it. And so
Okay.
I did my OPT, which was great and hard at the same time, mostly because I had no money. You also had to equal
Yeah.
a certain number of hours in your major that you were working in that you would have to prove at a moment's notice if they decided that they needed it proved.
Right.
And you were only allowed to leave a certain number of times within that year. It
Mm.
it doesn't count towards residency. It's just very much a transition visa kind of.
Yeah.
So I graduated about 2 months after school, booked a play, and was like, oh my God, I'm gonna work all the time, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
You're like, they said this was gonna be difficult, but look at me.
Yeah.
That's not actually how it goes.
No.
But
No.
but yeah, so you get your OPT and you do that for the year. And then in that
Okay.
year, you're supposed to be building all of your connections that you can possibly imagine so that you can apply for your next
Yeah.
visa. And so then you have the option of an H-1B or H-1B or an
Yeah.
O-1 if you're in the arts. The
Ah.
O-1 is up to 3 years. So in theory, I think you
Yeah.
can do less. But
Uh-huh. Yes, you
yeah.
can. In theory, yes. Yeah.
But then
And it's like,
also,
say, like a production were to hire you for a TV series, but your character would only be needed for about 3 months. They might pay for just the 3 months.
right, which is
Yeah.
crazy because this visa
Crazy.
is thousands of dollars.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you've got lawyers because you have to have an immigration
Yeah.
lawyer because whatever
Yes.
you do with immigration, use a lawyer. It's too difficult.
Yeah. Again, not legal
No.
advice, but we can speak from experience of if you do it on your own, it's going to be so hard. You might as well just become a lawyer and then do it,
Right.
as opposed, if you're going to do it on your own, become a lawyer. That's
Yeah.
my advice. Not
Yeah.
not a lawyer. This is an actor giving advice, but like, don't. It's so much easier if you do it with a lawyer and ask
Yeah.
around too with like recommendations and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And like the lawyers, my immigration lawyer who I used for like all my visas, well, apart from my student visa,
Hmm.
is a lawyer that was recommended to me by someone else who specializes in
Yeah,
artist visas and like all of that.
cool.
He's great. When I first met him, he had this like basically like closet of an office, and now he has
Mm,
like a big shiny office. And so
nice.
it's cool to see that. And I was
Wow.
like, oh,
That's cool. You guys parallel grew. That's fun.
but
Wow.
yeah, and like O1s are hard, and like when I
Yeah.
got my green card, I got to like help like sponsor like a couple friends with theirs and like
Oh,
help write
nice.
all the deal memos because you have to prove that you have work, and that's hard, and you
Yeah.
also have to have someone to sponsor
Especially as a
you.
student, right?
Yeah,
If you only had 1 year to put that together. I
yeah.
built my O1 over a career of like 14 years, right? And still was like, let's go, baby, please make this work, and so I can't imagine having to apply for the O1. So what would be then the difference between the H1B
I
visa?
think
Is that
the H1B,
similar?
if I remember right, and again, I could be wrong,
We could be
but
wrong.
you have to have a bachelor's. I know that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and usually it's like a company sponsoring you. So
Ah,
like
okay.
instead of an individual or like an agent or a production company sponsoring you, it's like your ability to stay in this country is decided by your staying in that job. Like I'm
Ah, okay,
pretty
okay. So
sure.
like maybe working with like a theater company and having like a kind of more permanent role. So,
Yeah.
I guess maybe, and I'd love to talk about, too, you've become, like you were starting to say with the O1 helping your
Mhm.
friends and stuff, you've become a mentor and you're part of
Yeah.
this program too that helps people sort of land in
Yeah.
the States and have these kinds of opportunities. So tell me a little bit about, when you started to step into mentorship. Was that something pretty soon after school that you started just naturally doing? No?
No. So, I mean, I've always kind of been a person who just like remembers resources and then just hands them out to people. Um, where I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, if you need this, I know someone who does that. Here's their connection."
Mm,
Just because I feel like why gatekeep?
yes.
Like in this day and age, why? Um,
Why? No.
so that's that. But I didn't like I think I just kind of did it like vaguely informally with friends for a while. And then
Hmm.
I in oh God, 2018
Nice.
decided that I'd had enough of the industry. I hated everything. It was all
Oh, wow.
awful, basically.
You were out. You were
I
like,
was
I'm not doing
not
this.
even that.
Really?
I just was like, no one's making things that I want to see. And no one's
Ah.
casting, and like you have to have this agent to be allowed to get to these levels. And like
Oh,
I'd
wow.
been through a string of like really, really awful productions, like really
Hmm.
awful. And so I just was like, this is the worst. And so had a full crash out, like full blown temper
Whoa.
tantrum, the whole thing. Um, like like a 2-year-old would love me. But
Wow.
um, and then I was like, fine, I know so many people. I bet you I could make it happen. I was like, if these
Mm.
people can make it happen, I can make it happen.
Hmm.
And so like to spite realistically, like a lot of people, I went to a bunch of my friends and I was like, write me a play and I will figure out how we can produce it. And so I
Wow.
think that was kind of where it started because it was like one of those things where I just like
Mm.
started going up to people who were my friends, who were writers, who were struggling to get into writers' rooms or get their work seen
Mm.
by the tiniest theater company in the world to like put it on as a staged reading. that I could do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just had this like this crash out energy actually gave you the force to just let's start making work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that was a lot of
Cool.
it. And then that company, like it started as like a one-time stage reading with my friend, Michaela.
Yep.
And then we produced that into a play that went up at Playwrights Horizons downtown. And then,
Oh, nice.
yeah. And then we did in their black box, though, not their like big theater. And then we
Still,
did,
that's awesome.
and we did like a bunch more stage readings. We got like a film done. Like we did a podcast all about women who weren't heard of in history. There were like, it got fully recognized into an
Wow.
LLC. Like I had to learn a lot to do it. And like that's also what meant, because it was then an LLC and I was hiring people, I was able to then be like, I know we're producing this thing next year. So let me write you a deal memo for my friend who I know I'm going to cast.
Wow.
And so I think that became a big thing. And like, yeah, I think that was part of it, is it was just, oh, I can help here. And then in that, part of the whole production company was that anytime we produced something, we would give 10% of profits to like a nonprofit or a charity that was like linked to the subject matter.
Oh, wow.
Because I fully believe that the arts are inherently political. And also I couldn't, at that point, I wasn't allowed to vote because I was not a citizen, but I was a green card holder. So I could donate.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, the whole idea of spending with your dollars kind of thing. So like a lot of the stuff was sourced from small women-owned businesses and immigrant businesses. And then it was like partnering with nonprofits to get stuff done.
Wow.
So a lot of it was that, where I was just like, why not? If these people can, why can't
Wow.
I? And I could bet you I could do it better. Which, yeah.
Wow.
So that's, I think, where it came. And then now I work with Off the Lane, is the nonprofit that I work with as a mentor. We mentor, they do, I think, 2 sessions a year where we do like an 8-week. You meet with this person once a week and you help them, whether they're new to New York or new to the industry or just graduated and they're like, I don't know what to do. You kind of help them at varying stages of where they're at to get to where they want to be. And yeah.
Wow.
That's what I do now. Well, not
That's
while
so
I'm still
cool.
acting.
Shout out to Off the Lane.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
They're super cool.
That's so
They do
cool.
a lot of
And
really
so
cool stuff.
I'm gonna probably try to release this around the time that you have your next cohort. Are you aware of when the next mentorship might be?
We just started our spring one. The next one I think is in the fall. It kind of goes with like school semesters. So like this one is like before people graduate into May. But yeah, so it's pretty good. We like, yeah, I think I'm like, what? We're on week 3. I just met with my mentee today. But yeah, so we're on week 3 of it. But it's a really great, like, people, and there's different events for people throughout it, and that's the big thing. And then there's like, this is early career folks, and then we have people, there's another program through it that does like mid-career. And so there's all these events that people help put on plays and like write interactive theater, and it gets held and put on in a space. Like there's so many different opportunities. You have to know where to find them, which is the hard thing. But yeah.
So cool. I love that you channeled this kind of, I don't like what I'm seeing or receiving from the industry, so let me make something. Let me change something. And now you're in this position where now you can even give back more and more and more. So I'm curious, at this point in your career, what are like maybe like the highlights that you yourself receive from this like energy? Like you spoke about being in film and television, but you also spoke about voice. Which one are like the like sort of favorite moments in terms of your career in New York? What are some like highlights that you really, really loved, or like productions that you really loved?
It's like, I feel like if you ask me that question every day, it's going to be slightly different. You know what I mean? It's like when people are like, what's your favorite film?
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
I have one of the big ones recently is I am the voiceover lead for the English version of Leviathan on Netflix, which is very, very cool. And I get to be Scottish. As we have said, I usually get to be Scottish in voiceover. So it's a very
Hmm.
cool like anime that's like based on these 3 novels by Scott Westerfield. And I was like, I flew to LA and recorded everything there. And like, it was just so cool to be able to be like, oh, I love this. Um,
Hmm.
and like also because so much of what we do, if we're doing short films or we're doing plays, they're for a finite amount of time. Often people don't always get to see them. So you're just kind of
Hmm.
like, you're like, oh, I was working on these things, but unless they go through festivals and like fully get completed, they're not always seen. And so it's really cool to be like,
Mm.
oh, you haven't maybe seen me, but you've definitely heard me if you've watched this. Which is
Mm.
cool. And then I guess, well, last year you and I met because we did
Yeah.
a film, and it was the first time I've had one worked with children, um, but two, like we did it all on film in a oneer, which
Hmm.
was a whole thing. To be able to, one film is difficult, and then to do it as a oneer was like so much pressure, but so cool to do because you feel like you're doing theater, right? Because you're just like, oh,
Hmm.
the actor in me can just go. We're not like stopping and starting, which was
Yeah.
very cool. So that's definitely one.
Hmm.
And then yeah, I don't know. I've just got. And then one of my favorite things I ever produced was I did a film called A Series on Surviving, and when we did it was all about like sexual assault. And so when we did the
Oh,
talk back,
whoa.
we did like a screening and a talk back. And I
Mm.
remember like afterwards, like being like, oh, like so many people in the room like felt the story and like us like related to the story and like felt like a good, like it felt like something good had come from this thing and there was hope in the world for it.
Oh,
And I remember feeling
wow.
like this is the reason we do this. Like this. Like
Hmm.
being able to like create stories that affect people. Um
Yeah.
yeah. So
And so beautiful that you also hosted an event that then had a talk
yeah.
back portion. It wasn't just like you're making a movie that you're hoping gets into festivals. You did it as a communal kind of
Yeah.
experience that then let's have a talk, let's see
Yeah.
how what its impact was. And it's beautiful that it was a cathartic,
Yeah.
type of experience, right? That
Yeah.
that people can continue their healing, whether it be from that experience or be more
Yeah.
sensitized to those
Yeah.
situations too. That's really, really beautiful. So do you still continue to produce in with your company or on your own? Like, do you still make your own work? Is that something still part of you?
Yeah, I do still produce. I do not do it as often. I do not run it as a permanent
Hmm.
company anymore. I do it much more as just
Hmm.
me. It got like so much
Cool.
doing it as a company. Um,
I'm sure.
and like I would definitely probably reset up a production company, but would do it so differently because I actually know how to do a lot of those things now versus like it felt like building a
Mm,
pack of cards and just never knowing like when it was going to fall
yeah.
down and if I'd done it wrong. So, but I still do
Mm,
produce. I think it's fun. I think it's stressful. But I do love seeing things go from nothing to like complete. Which is really cool.
yeah.
And I only do it for certain stories. So I'm only going to do it if I really like it. I'm not just doing it for credit. I like want to put the work in. But yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. It's super stressful though. And like the people who do it full time, like they are just, I don't know how their brains work because it's
Yeah.
so much. And like,
Uh-huh.
I'm very much an
Uh-huh.
actor. I learned how to be much more type A and like learned how to budget and learned how to make contracts and what union rules were and how to make sure that was happening. But like the people who like
Mm,
just can, there's people who like really can do it. I'm good at it. I'm not saying I'm bad, but I had to learn.
yeah.
Um, and I learned with a lot of like things that probably I would never do again because I now know better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, totally. I think the learning process is about making mistakes, or like you said, I like the metaphor of a house of cards, but I've also heard the metaphor of like, building a plane as it's taking off kind of thing, right? Kind of
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, you're going to go off the cliff. So you got to build that plane fast. So I just love that you were able to take a chance and fly and learn what works for you. And again, like you're saying in theater school as well, you learned some boundaries. So you learned like,
yeah,
okay, works for me, this works less, and
yeah.
finding what works for you. And I'm just so curious too, like what in your immediate future, or what in the this moment, what are like the things that you love about your life, the things that sustain you, that excite you, that really bring you some hope and some joy in your days?
I mean, that's such a good question. I recently, this is so not acting related in any capacity. I recently,
Love it.
because I was like, I need a hobby that I can't monetize or make a side hustle of or like turn into a skill for
Nice.
acting. Um, I
Nice.
started learning how to make beaded flowers. So like they look like
Oh.
flowers, but they're made of like completely of beads. And I have gotten like my favorite so far is to make is lavender. It looks the best. If there's hissing that starts, by the
Mm.
way, in this audio, it's the steam heat. Just because.
I don't hear anything yet, but
Great.
I'm sure it's gonna maybe show up on
It
the
just
audio at some
popped
point.
on. So I
It
just wanted
just
to be
popped
like,
on. The gnomes.
yeah.
Hey.
I was like the callback to the beginning of the episode when we were talking about this. If this is what it is, it's the steam heat.
This is what
But
it is.
yeah, there's that. I'm a giant reader, so I love reading. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I have my partner. He's great. We like get to cook
Hmm.
things, which is great together. And then
Yes.
yeah, I go home to Scotland next week, which is fun.
Yay,
Yeah,
congratulations. That's so
yeah,
awesome. That's fun. Now that you're a citizen, you could just go whenever you want. It's
yeah.
so nice. That's
I
so
know.
cool. Good for
The
you.
fun thing of having a like like relief of being like, oh, I can
Yes.
like go places and not worry about it was so good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. No more time limit kind of
yeah,
thing that you have to be in the country and think about
yeah.
all the time kind of thing. So that's nice. That's really beautiful. Do you have any of those
My
like flower
flowers,
bead
yeah,
things
as
that
I
you could
run
show me?
behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see, because I know most of my viewers are on YouTube anyway, so they're dying to see this. Here we go. Oh wow, that's gorgeous. It looks real.
No, yeah, right?
My God, lavender. It
Lavender is my
does look like a
favorite so
lavender, and
far.
you made it of beads.
It makes
How long does it take you to make one?
about 3 hours all in for the lavender. But there's like
Wow.
a whole bag of like thing of them at the back.
Yeah.
Um, but
Whoa.
yeah, I tried to do poppies. It got really difficult. I started with daisies. Daisies are the easiest. But
Nice.
yeah, the lavender is by far the coolest.
Wow. And do you like just listen to music, or is like
Yeah,
just a meditation?
kind of
Okay.
just
It's
like
just a meditation.
chat, like do it.
Nice. Oh, you can
Yeah,
chat to people while you're making it?
yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Because that's the thing, right? I'm
Huh.
terrible at crocheting and knitting because I can't count. Like I
Ah.
I tried. It gets too frustrating. But this feels like way
Yes.
easier. Whereas I know like it's
Yeah.
fiddly, like but I got like the
Yeah.
spinner, so it gets easier. But it takes a
Fun.
lot of beats and it does take a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
time. But you know what? I've got my
Nice.
holiday presents for this year. Like you know what I mean? Like everyone will get a
Yo.
flower.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah, you're turning your meditation practice into your Christmas presents. It's so great.
Yeah.
And I love that you talked about finding things that nourish you that are actually outside of your acting, that aren't because you're trying to put on to special skills, that there are like things that you just love
Yeah.
naturally. Like I did that with like music.
Yeah.
Like 2.5, 3 years ago, I started doing music just for me. Like I played just for me, and I did an album, and then I was like ghosted the music
Yeah.
world, because I did it for me. I
Yeah.
didn't do it because like, oh, it's cool, like to put down my resume that I can write songs or play the ukulele, but I just did it because it was fun, and that's so beautiful. I love that you you talk about that, because it's so important to find things that nourish you. And I love that you talked about your husband and cooking
Yeah.
too, because I see them pictures that you guys post, and you host dinners, and
Yeah.
I think it's nice to find that, where your joy is at are in the things that you can control,
Yeah.
too. I think that's an important thing to remember as actors, is like find sources of joy that you can control, because like the acting comes, ebbs and flows, changes its form, theater, film, TV, voice, and sometimes periods of just find another hustle.
Yeah.
hustle to stay where you are, but keep the faith, keep your heart good, and your healthy body and your mind and all that. But I'm so glad you came on and had this conversation with me again,
I
because
know.
it's been just such a good joy to have this conversation with you again and hear those highlights, but discover some new ones along the way too. I'm just curious, are there any like upcoming projects that people can sort of keep their eyes out or open for you, or just follow you in your socials? Would you like to shout out them socials and all that jazz?
Yeah. I don't really have anything.
Yeah.
I have a couple things upcoming, but I don't know
Other
when they're
than
coming out. You know what I mean? That
okay,
world
yeah, yeah, yeah,
where you're
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. Well,
they're
we
in
got
post.
Leviathan that's on Netflix, right?
Leviathan's on Netflix, which everyone should watch.
There we go.
But
Yes.
yeah, I'm on social, so I'm on Instagram most of the time. It's just my name, so Broghanne Jessamine. I'm like the only one, so you can like also just Google me, and I'm the only person who shows up, which is wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and then yeah, I have like my agents and managers. All their info's on IMDb. That's the easiest place to find it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a good time. Like, I love being an actor. I love getting to tell stories, which is realistically what we're doing every day. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm excited. It's like I've got a little bit of hope for the year. So we're seeing, it's
Good.
also getting warmer, which I think helps everyone. So
Yeah. 100%. Spring is springing.
spring.
Summer's on its way. Things will get better.
Yeah,
There's always that light. There's always that light, and the light is coming in. And yeah. I'm so glad that you came on again. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in to yet another episode. I can't believe y'all are almost 72% in YouTube. Amazing. I did not know people who watched podcasts until I started a podcast. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions for Broghanne or I or anything, plop them in the comment section of the videos on YouTube. Please leave a review. That really helps. Share this with a friend. Maybe you have a friend that wants to go to New York City and needs to connect to like person like Broghanne. Please send them this episode so they know that Broghanne's very approachable and very helpful.
Yes.
It's a good person to have on your team. We only rise together. That's what we believe in this podcast here. And yeah. Oh yeah. Subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. I think we are like 25 or so episodes deep.
Oh wow.
And I know there's so many people listening and watching. I know probably if you watched this far into the episode, maybe you already subscribed, but tell your friends to subscribe. That's always helpful too. We love to just keep the love loving. And yeah, that's about it. I don't have anything else to say. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think you got it. We gotta, subscribe.
I think I did it. Yeah.
You share the whole thing.
Yeah. I covered the logistics. I don't have a producer on the podcast yet, which would be helpful.
I mean, aren't you the producer?
I guess so. I guess so. And so the producer's telling me to wrap it up. So I'll say the thing I usually do, which is and scene. Thank you so much. There we go. That's how it ends.
Perfect.
There we go.